Welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob here, coming at you on a Saturday matinee. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but if you're watching on YouTube, you see there's actually sunlight shining through on my face. It's not nighttime when we're recording one of these. But here we are. I got a bit of an opening, not rant, but it's a thought that might turn into a rant of the second half of it. So I golfed Thursday. Thursday night, I went out and I played at Chimawa. I just walked 9 at the end of the, I snuck out of work a little bit early at like 4:00 to go play. And previously this year, so I bought in like a bunch of different balls, like just over the course of months, right? Like cases of balls. So I got like, the Callaway Super Soft is one of my balls that I use typically like early season, late season. I bought in the Snell Get Somes, which are kind of, in my opinion, the equivalent to like a Callaway Super Soft. Snell is just a little bit cheaper. They're direct to consumer for anyone that doesn't know about golf products, things like that. I do like the Snell ball. I have a case of the old Primes, or the MTB Prime, I think it was, or just the MTB Black. Sorry, that was the old model. Now it's the Prime. So I still have a case of those. I just have a bunch of cases. I bought a case of Pro V1s over the course of the last year, and I hadn't really used them. So I typically reserve the better balls for, mid to late summer when my game is better and the weather is nicer. Because a case of Pro V1s is like $55, right? It's like $54.99, whatever. It is what it is. So I buy like one a year. So it's also the first time I've ever used Pro V1s out of a box, right? Like I found them in the woods. Like I've had them, I've had like a sleeve before, but like it might have been like 2 years ago, right? Like I don't know, I wasn't that good, whatever. I'm not that I'm good now, but I'm a lot better now. So I played Thursday night with Titleist Pro V1s for the first time ever. And holy fucking shit. If anyone out there tries to tell you that the ball doesn't make a difference, they are completely full of shit. Because I was hitting the ball way fucking further than I ever have. And this isn't just driver. This is all my clubs. Like in a way, my first couple holes were like kind of shitty because I was way off for my distances, which if you've been listening to the show long enough over the last few months or whatever, you'll know that my 56-degree wedge is completely dialed in to 76 yards. Like that's it. When I get 76, boom, I know I'm taking the 56 and I'm going to put that thing within feet of the pin. Right? Like it's just, I'm super confident. Wouldn't you know, on the second hole, my second shot in, I had 76 yards to the pin. Well, it was 76 yards to the middle. It was a front pin. So it was 76 yards to the middle of the green. So I was like, I'll play 76. If it goes a little long, that's fine, whatever. Like I'm trying to not play to pins, right? Just play distances. I hit the ball and it went over the back of the green. Like it went probably 84 yards, 84, 85 yards when I was planning 76. So what is that? An extra 8 yards roughly that I got out of it. It came back a little bit off the hill and I was on the fringe on the back of the green, but it was tough with the front pin. I think I forget whether I got out of there with par or bogey, but it wasn't that bad. On the fourth hole, I absolutely smoked a driver, like made perfect contact, middle of the face, ball went dead straight with a little baby fade on it. Caught the fairway, rolled down a little bit, and I use 18 birdies to like hit the GPS. So I like click it when I'm on the at the tee, and then I click it when I get to the ball. 296 yards. I hit the ball. Now, granted, it is a little bit downhill, but like still, it was a 296 yard drive. I've never hit a ball 296 yards, and I've piped some balls before. So, like I said, anybody that tries to tell you that the ball doesn't make a difference, it does. Now, that being said, right, like if you're a 30 handicap, I mean, it's up to you, right? Maybe you have the money for it. But like if you're a 30 handicap, I probably wouldn't be like, oh, dude, you have to go buy Pro V1s. But like do some research, look into it, and like, yeah, they're more expensive, but holy shit, they're fucking way better than like anything I've used. Now, granted, I haven't used the Snell Blacks this year, right? It's last year's model. I'm kind of fucking lame, but I'm a little sentimental about it because they don't exist anymore. So I'm just hesitant to open the box and use them. But I did buy a couple of the MTB Primes, which is essentially the new black, right, for this year's model after they did a rebrand. So yeah, I'm interested in those. Like I haven't used those, but like, yeah, I was just kind of like blown away at how different the ball was.
Are these Pro V1s or Pro V1Xs?
Pro V1s.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't really want to nerd out on golf ball talk. Like, I don't want to do that. But yes, I mean, like, obviously the golf ball does like make a difference, but it also depends on how you deliver the club. Or I
Right.
guess it depends on the characteristics that you then put on the ball. So, like, for example, if I took, because I've done this before, I've tested this before, but like a Pro V1, Pro V1X, the Pro V1X is supposed to spin more. So theoretically, the Pro V1 would go further.
Right.
And I believe that is correct with my testing. And then the Snell, like again, they changed the models, but the MTB Black on paper was supposed to be like the Pro V1, in the X, the MTB X was supposed to be like a Pro V1X. But what I found is the way that I deliver the club, Pro V1 would spin the least, which meant it would go the furthest, but I was also getting too little spin on certain clubs. And then the MTB Black and the Pro V1X were almost identical for me. And then the X, or the MTBX, the Snell X, that spun like crazy and went the way short. So it's like I couldn't really play the MTBX. So I mean, I've kind of just played like Pro V1X and Snells, and like, so this is the thing though, like people try to tell me, because this is like the two ends of the spectrum. There's the ends of the spectrum that people will hit anything and think it all does the same,
Right.
and then it doesn't. But then there's other people who think like, oh, well, if you're seeing, X on the golf course, like you change the golf ball and the golf ball will like magically do something. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, it doesn't,
Right.
because I was going to use this for I might save it for my final thought, but like I've been like trying to figure out my wedges for 2 years, 2 seasons, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I did get new irons, so my gapping kind of changed, like the whole thing. But um, in that, I was hitting like the Snell Black and the Pro V1X. And the other part is, even as a 2 handicap, I don't hit the ball consistently enough to really know the finite, or to reap the finite differences. Because on one hole, you might hit like the Pro V1X and it's supposed to spin more, and you catch it clean and you're hitting into an upslope and the ball comes back a little bit. And then on the next hole, you take that same ball and you go, oh, I'll just throw it beyond the pin and have it spin back. Well, you caught it a little bit heavy, and now there's no spin on that ball. So no, it doesn't come back. Like,
Right. Right.
that's the other part, is like some of these differences are so finite that you can kind of get away with like anything.
Yeah.
But then again, some of the balls, there isn't a finite difference. Like Callaway, Chrome Soft, probably X's. I don't even know. I don't fucking play Callaways. But like one of those balls is supposed to be like crazy spinny. So it's like if you're someone who doesn't really put a lot of spin, hey, fuck off. if you're someone who doesn't put like a lot of spin on the ball, well, then the X's are gonna or the Chrome Soft is gonna be a ball for you. But if you're
Right.
someone who spins it like crazy, well, then you need a lower spinning ball. And yes, you will see differences there.
Hey, stop.
Leo's
Leo
digging
just
the couch.
digging in the back.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
digging the couch.
Yeah.
Um, he was sound asleep upstairs. Like
Yeah.
I had to check for fucking signs of life at one point when he was laying down.
Yeah. But now you're
And
trying to do
and
something.
now I come down here and he's like,
Yeah.
let's dig. I'm
Yeah.
ready to dig. I don't know why he just doesn't hop on the couch and sleep, but
yeah.
that's neither here nor there. But then it's like, so Cunty Chris, like actually, if you are a golfer and you want to know like what golf ball you should use, like you care. Now, some people don't like, you don't care, and that's cool because you don't play enough and you're not spending the money. Like, no problem.
Right.
Like, I completely fucking get it. Like, I will be the last person to tell you spend $60 on a dozen of balls if you're gonna pump 6 of them OB. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
we've moved on to pillows.
hey.
But Ballnamic, Google Ballnamic, and it kind of gives you a profile of like what you should do. Now, to get the most accurate results, you need a launch monitor. But
Right.
like this is kind of what I mean. Like, if you are someone who cares this much, you probably can get access to a launch monitor in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form.
I mean, you just go
Whether
to a
you
simulator.
go to a place. Yeah, whether you go to a place and get some figures, or you know someone, or you fucking message me, like whatever. Like, and like that spits it out. So like Cunty Chris, good player, plays Titleist AVXs.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, oh, AVXs. No, you play a Pro V1. You find the Pro V1 model that works for you. Well, they all spin too much for him because he puts spin on the ball.
Right.
And he launches it a certain way. So the AVXs launch a little bit lower. They spin a little bit less. They're good for him. Like,
right.
That's kind of like how this sort of goes.
Yeah.
So it's like finding the ball, like they're not built different. But I will also say certain people, if you give them a Pro V1X, they won't hit it good. They'll hit it too high, too spinny, and kind of shitty. You give them a super soft and all of a sudden they hit like fucking bombs with it.
Right.
Like that used to be the ball I would use on off the tee in scrambles, is I'd play a super soft off the tee and then I would just switch it out. And people are like, you can't do that. It's a scramble. Scrambles are the worst form of fucking golf.
Yeah,
like everyone just fucking cheats anyway. That is by far the least egregious thing I could do out there.
Right. Right. So like more recently, I have been playing super soft, and like just the switch between the super soft and the Pro V1 is like, holy shit. So like you had said about Ballnamic, they do like an actual like data entry stuff, right? You can figure out
also,
what ball.
Yeah, it's also $40. So you do have to pay for that.
So that's that. So similar to that, it's not necessarily a ball fitting, but if you go to mygolfspy.com, they just released, because I follow them on Instagram and Twitter. They're a really great like golf website. Their whole thing is they test
reviews.
They test and review everything. So like clubs, balls, shoes, gloves, like anything, umbrellas. I think they did one too. Like they do like completely honest and unbiased reviews on all things golf. Like I said, from the ball all the way up to the umbrella. Like they have reviews on it, on everything. So they just released their 2023 ball review like last week or within the last week. So I went through and I looked at it and I compared it's like a drop down menus and fucking scatter plot charts and bar graphs and all this stuff. They took data over like the course of a month. Like they did it, I think, between June and July or July and August or whatever. And then they compiled all the data and, put it into this format so people can analyze it themselves. So I, selected a couple different models, right? Like the Pro V1, both Snells, the Callaway Super Soft and all this stuff. And like the Pro V1 was more towards like the top right end of the scatter plot, and the Super Soft was closer to like the bottom left of the scatter plot. So it's like, it's a softer ball, and the x-axis was compression. And I think, or maybe I know that the x-axis was distance and the y-axis was compression. So the Super Soft was the softest ball on there, but it also traveled the least distance. And the Pro V1 was a little bit more firm, but it went further. I think the firmest ball on there might have been like the Pro V1X. That might have been the hardest ball on the scatter plot, at least when I filtered it, right, for the stuff I was looking at. And I think the AVX might have been the furthest distance overall, but like the Pro V1 was, or the left dash. It was the Pro V1.
The left dash allegedly
left
goes the
dash
furthest.
Was the furthest distance.
I also don't think it's very easy to get those.
Yeah, I've never seen them.
Yeah, I think
you'd have to buy them probably from the Titleist website.
Yeah, you probably have to, or someone's got to order them. I don't know. I play with someone who nerds out on shit like that.
Yeah,
he said he won a bunch of pro shop credit at some course, so he's gonna have the pro order him straight up left dashes, because that's what he uses. But he also goes in golf circles. He goes, it's also just as good as currency. He goes, because I can just sell those.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
you can.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So yeah, it just, I did notice a difference. It did feel a lot firmer, right? Like it didn't feel like I was hitting a rock, right? It's not like a Slazenger, because I've hit Slazengers before, and that feels like I just hit a rock, like on the ground. But I did notice the difference in like the feel between a Super Soft and a Pro V1. It sounds different. It feels different. But it went way fucking further. Like I said, I hit a drive 296, and on the first tee, that was the best drive I hit all round. But like on the first tee, I hooked one, so it went left into the the 10th fairway. But when I clicked it for the GPS, it was 270. So yeah, it went way offline into the 10th fairway off the first tee, but it still went 270. Right. And then on the third hole, I don't know if you remember the third hole at Chamawa. It's like the woods are on the right side, and they have a net that goes like, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 feet in the air. And I absolutely piped a drive straight, right? Like I was playing a little bit of a draw because my driver has been going left lately, and it went dead straight, and it went over the net. And I watched it. I was like, okay, it's right by this telephone pole, or it looks like a telephone pole. It's the post they use to hold the net up. So I had it with this post over the net, which again is 30 or 40 feet high. However, maybe it's closer to like 35 feet, split the difference. So 35 feet in the air. And when I punched the GPS to see like where I was from the tee, it was 230 yards from the tee. So 230 yards out, it was still 35 yards or 35 feet in the air. Right. So like, that would have went also very fucking far. So I lost the ball, but because it went straight, it didn't go left, but it was going very far. So it's one of those like, okay, this is kind of an interesting development here. Because like I said, I've never played with a brand new recently, right? I've never played with an out of the box Pro V1. So just random golf thoughts, interesting stuff that I'll probably buy. I'll probably start buying at least one box a year to use, right? Like I said, in that summertime area, because I used to use Snell's when the weather was nicer, just because I like them and they're cheaper. They're way fucking cheaper. But yeah. And then this kind of goes into like the rant part of it. I was playing with a guy who, like, I almost kind of felt like that lady, what the fuck's her name? Tiffany Gomez or whatever. The woman that got famous for being on the plane, who was probably like high and flipping out. They're like, that motherfucker's not real. I think I was playing with an equivalent of that guy on Thursday, because he only spoke in like tropes and cliches. Like anytime like I hit a bad shot, or like it popped up in the air, did something, he's like, I bet you probably hit it off the toe. And I was like, I don't know, man. I kind of felt a little heely, right? Because I'm also just being a cocksucker. I'm like, I felt a little heely. And he's like, oh no, typically, sometimes, when you don't hit it good, it's off the toe. I was like, all right, dude, whatever. And then like I hit the 296 drive on the fourth hole, and I go, yeah, I was looking for that all round so far. It just took me 4 holes to figure it out. He goes, yeah, it's really good, but to be really good, you got to play all the time, right? And he's like, oh, this greens are going uphill. You're going to putt up. Like, he's just saying like all the stupid tropes of like the golf course. And I think I heard every single one.
How many times did he tell you that even a broken clock is right twice a day?
He did say that, actually.
Of course he did.
He said it once. But it was like, what the fuck? What are we doing? Like, what are you doing, man? I don't need this.
It's people.
Like, just be like we didn't have like any normal conversation, right? It was whatever golf cliche he wanted to say next was what he said. And he goes, oh, put this one in the fairway. All I need to do now is hit the green. Like,
thanks, dude.
Thanks, man. Like,
okay. He sounds about as interesting as a fucking burlap sack.
Yeah. Oh, just you got because when I hit the drive, like when I hit the 300-yard drive, basically, it was like, oh, all you need now is a chip and a putt. Like, okay, all right, man, I get it.
Yeah, I just don't speak to those people.
Yeah, we were both walking, and I just walked ahead of him the entire round. I was like, I'm not stopping to talk to you. Yeah, I have nothing to say to you because every time you speak, you're speaking in cliches, right? Like, oh, no, you got a downhill putt. Don't forget the putt's going to break a little bit more. Like,
yeah, it's actually not even true.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what one of the putts. He goes, "What do you think, left edge?" Like, oh my god.
Sure, man.
But we were coming at the cup from two completely different angles, right? Like we were, if you made a straight line from both our balls to the cup, it was probably like 120-degree angle. Like, I don't know, man. Like, oh, what are you thinking, left edge? Dude, we might as well be fucking not even putting on the same green. Like, we're not even close to the same
You're
line.
supposed to caddy for him, dude.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It was just dumb shit like that. Like, everything out of his mouth was some sort of like cliche or fucking trope. But I shot a 6 over with a triple. So, yeah, pretty solid. And I bogeyed that hole, by the way, if anyone out there is wondering, when I hit the drive 296, I know I told you this in the group text, but I caught the chip heavy after the drive, I had like 34 yards to the pin. I caught the chip heavy. It made it to the front of the green, but I had, I don't know, maybe like 28 feet or something for the birdie putt. I hit it about 6 feet past up a slope, right? Because it was an uphill putt. And then 6 feet coming down the slope, I barely breathed on it. It got to the hole and then did almost a 360 fucking lip out on the hole and tapped in for bogey. I went on my way.
Yeah, stress free.
Yeah. Yep. Solid. So, fucking golf, right? But I thought I also, like I said, I figured it was interesting about the ball because you hear some people talk about it and you're like, yeah, how much of a difference does it really make?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like it's almost like a bell curve, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's a point where, again, it's like if you take your bell curve, you have your two furthest points. And then one of those points is it doesn't matter as much as you think. And then the other side is you don't give it enough credit. And then there's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Like the top of your curve, which is where, like, all right, you got to care like a little bit. And you have to like pay attention. And yes, there will be like a correct 3 or so models that work for you. But I mean, like some of these people I play with, like, dude, they'd be a +1 handicap whether they use fucking left dash, right, X1, TP5. Like it really doesn't matter that much.
Right.
Like, right, unless there's a ball with like an extreme, like again, Chrome Softs used to have that reputation of just being so fucking spinny. It all ends up kind of being similar.
Yeah.
At a certain point. But again, there are some models that just will not work.
Right. Right. And some model, like you said before, some models work better for different people, right?
Yeah.
Like if I tried to play an AVX, I might not be able to hit the fucking thing, but it works for Chris.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of cunts, I got a really funny story for you. This is going to be great. So I'm looking forward to your take on this. So we all know that Chicago is basically a shithole, right? There's like multiple gun murders and violence and all kinds of shit all the time in Chicago. There's theft, there's all kinds of stuff. It's a shithole, right? So we also are very well aware that politically, it falls on the liberal side of everything, right? The all mayors really of recent have been super liberal in Chicago, and the latest mayor or the new mayor, I think, because I don't think it's Beetlejuice anymore. That woman that looks like Beetlejuice, I think it's a different guy. Oh yeah, it is. His name is Brandon Johnson. So he's a Democrat. Again, he's very liberal, whatever. There's been a lot of theft of cars in Chicago as of late. So what would you do if you were a mayor of a major city, one of like the top 10 cities in the country, and there was a lot of, is that technically Grand Theft Auto, right? Like there's a lot of car thefts, a lot of Grand Theft Auto going on in your city. What would be any action that you might take?
I would go find Dirty Mike and the boys and make sure that they're fucking not having sex in everyone's Prius.
That's probably would be on the list, higher on the list than what the actual mayor of Chicago is doing right now.
Well, again, so then I guess, I mean, if I'm a mayor, what I probably want to do is decriminalize auto theft or Grand Theft Auto. That's probably what I want to do.
We're probably getting close to that point because nothing can be his fault and nothing can be the fault of the actual criminals. So what's the mayor of Chicago doing right now? You might be thinking he is filing a class action lawsuit against Hyundai and Kia because their cars don't do enough to prevent people from stealing them.
So I actually have heard this before. Like not just like right now. I've heard Hyundais and Kias are like notoriously easy to be stolen. So the reason I've heard this is Monday Q, Ryan French.
Mm-hmm.
He was caddying for Mark Baldwin at whatever. And luckily the clubs always come inside when they stay at Airbnbs or hotels, whatever.
Right.
We're right out in front of the Airbnb, stolen. Rental car, just stolen. And they call, like, oh, reporting it's stolen. It's like, oh, did we give you a Kia? He's like, yeah. He goes, oh, yeah, that happens. He's like, so they're like, oh, yeah, just come on down. We'll get you another one. Like, we'll take the info. We'll file a report, whatever.
Just a quick insurance claim. No big deal on our end.
I don't know what it is about the Kias. And then I guess Hyundai.
That's fucking hilarious.
I know someone at the gym, their car got stolen. It was a Hyundai. And I guess there's
in the City of Gold?
No.
Oh.
City of Champions.
Yeah. The other nearby city where cars get stolen all the time.
Although I do know someone who got their car stolen in Easton, but that's because all the doors and the keys were left in it. Doors were unlocked and keys were left in it.
Yeah, I mean, you're just asking for it at that point.
Yeah, there was a party at a house, and anyone whose doors were unlocked, their shit got stolen.
Right.
And then anyone who left their keys in the car, their car got stolen.
Right.
And then the car was found in the City of Champions. it's always found.
All roads lead back to fucking Brockton. It's like in Ted 2. You're always, what is it, 2 clicks away from
Blackhawks or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Hyundai, the kid or the dude whose Hyundai got stolen, like he goes, yeah, and he goes after the fact. Everyone tells me it's like, oh, didn't you know, like Like they can steal Hyundais through the USB. He goes, this is the first I'm fucking hearing about this. Like he goes, how do I own one of these things? And it's like, oh, like of course. It's like Hyundai's easy to steal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it has to do with like the button starts now. I don't know.
Yeah. So in the lawsuit, it says the Democratic Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson
I
and
do
the
like that they
city.
specified.
Yeah, I know. Are filing suit against Kia and Hyundai, claiming that they do not include, quote, industry standard engine immobilizers, which is prompting a steep rise in crime.
So
But so, yes.
this actually probably isn't going to go the way that you thought it might go for me.
So, but yeah, so you go ahead, because I also have some other thoughts on this too.
So, truth be told, this is the problem. The reality of the situation, not what we want, not what we hope, not what we think. The reality of the situation is that Kias and Hyundais are like fairly simple to steal.
Yes.
So people who own or rent Hyundais and Kias, they're easy to take. So it's like, truthfully, what exactly is the mayor supposed to do? Because he can't just ask all police to monitor all Kias and all Hyundais.
Right.
So, you know, if you like, because again, we're talking a city, there is street parking, there's garage parking. Like you're not in a driveway necessarily. You're not in a home garage.
Right.
It's public parking. You can't just put a cop at everywhere.
Right.
So if these cars are too easy to steal, then it does need to start at the top. And you do need to kind of hold some of these manufacturers, assuming it's true, like assuming they aren't up to standard. Now, if they are up to standard and the thieves have surpassed them, then someone has to figure something out somehow. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Now, I am curious to know what is happening to those that steal the cars. Are they stealing cars and there's no investigation because it's happening too commonly, or there's too many cases, and well, you can't lock up everybody who steals a car. It's like, well, you need to start holding some of those people accountable.
Yeah.
Too. So I don't know if there's enough of that going on. Now, I someone will tell me, oh, it's not, but you can't just lock up everyone who steals a car. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why not?
It's the same thing. Like, oh, well, you can't get every homeless person off the street. Why?
Yeah.
And that's a little different because there's some empathy in that situation.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't hate the strategy, but I think it's not complete either. Because again, if it's like there either needs to be stricter, like, because if it's that much of a problem, there either needs to be stricter penalty or more enforcement of the penalty. Like, there's got to be more.
Right.
Or else everyone's just going to go around, steal cars and fucking hope they get something out of them. And if not, they'll just dump them in some shitty neighborhood in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rest of the mayor's statement, right, is like, the impact of car theft on Chicago residents can be deeply destabilizing, particularly for low to middle income workers who have fewer options getting to work and taking care of their families. The failure on Kia and Hyundai's behalf, whatever, is sheer negligence. As a result, a citywide and nationwide crime spree around automobile theft has been unfolding right before our eyes. And then, moreover, offenders have used and stolen Kia and Hyundai vehicles to commit other crimes, including reckless driving, armed robbery, and murder. And it's like, you know, they go on to say all this stuff that's like basically making it seem like it's Hyundai and Kia's fault that they're getting stolen, which, and this is kind of what I was going to get to too when I said there was a little bit more to it. It's not Hyundai and Kia's fault. Like, it's not like because of Hyundai and Kia, there's more auto theft, right? It's the cars happen to be easier to steal, so they get stolen. But the way it's formulated by the mayor in this civil suit is that your cars are creating Grand Theft Auto. Whereas like Grand Theft Auto is happening regardless, right? It just so happens that people target Hyundais and Kias because they're easy to steal, right? You know what? Does that make sense? Like it's pointing the blame, right? It's blaming someone else instead of being the mayor of a city, being like, what do we need to do to work together to rid the city of Grand Theft Auto, right? Like what do we need to do? Do we need to have more cops on payroll? Do we need to have more patrol? Do we need to have, city cameras? Do we need to fix the cameras in all the parking garages in the city? Like, what can we do as a city to help support? It's the car maker's fault. It's it's Kia and Honda. It's not us. I'm powerless in this situation. There's nothing I could possibly do. So as a result, I'm going to sue the car companies. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, that's disingenuous and you're full of shit, really.
Well, that's why I think you need to act in a couple different ways. So number one would be, so I already mentioned, one, hold the manufacturers accountable if they're not up to standard.
Right.
Now, if they are up to standard, then
if that's the case, then get together. And I don't know how the city of Chicago works. I don't know if there's like a board of the city as well, because I think Boston has a board.
It's
we have
a city
mayor,
council.
But we also have a city council. Get together during one of your city council meetings and propose a temporary ban on the sale of Kias and Hyundais until they determine that they're fucking improve their service, right? Like you can do that. That's totally fair. As a city or a town, you can say, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the legal things, the legal ramifications are. But if your argument is that these cars are being targeted for acts of Grand Theft Auto, then can you prohibit or limit the sale of them in your jurisdiction of your city, right? Like if you want to buy a Kia or a Hyundai, you got to go to fucking, I don't know, Peoria or Springfield or so. I don't know those are the only three cities I know of in Illinois. I don't know anything else in Illinois.
I feel like that gets messy though, because then obviously the car manufacturers are going to sue or get an injunction, and then it's
because it's like the government getting in the way of private business, which it's
unfortunately
tough.
I don't think anything happens there. So I actually do think that, like, but again, we need like multiple steps here. So one of those steps is holding the manufacturers accountable. A class action lawsuit's probably the best way to do that.
Yeah.
You do need to hold offenders accountable.
Right.
Again, I don't know that they aren't, or maybe there just needs to be strict, like there's got to be something. Because if it's that much of a problem, then you need to fucking hit these people. Like there needs to be like a legitimate penalty.
Right.
And then the other thing is, it's like people who are going to murder are probably going to murder no matter what.
Yeah.
It's not like someone's walking down the street and being like, oh, look, a Hyundai, I could steal that. And then while I'm stealing it, why don't I kill someone?
Right. Right.
Like murders are probably going to happen regardless of like the method of getting there.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't love, that like causation or proposed causation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's bullshit. Like,
right.
Again, like they'll just use a registered car. Like,
yeah.
Again, if you want someone dead that bad, like if you are someone who is willing to murder and you find someone that you want dead that badly, you will find a way.
Yeah.
But then, again, so it's like, do you need more patrol? Do you need cameras? Do you need to put out like an advisement, like go get the thing.
Yeah.
from the late 90s.
Yeah, the fucking steering wheel lock.
Whatever the hell that thing is. Where it's like,
or maybe if you're a fucking, a Democratic mayor and you're all about the government helping the people, you want more government involvement in people's lives, maybe you decide that the city of Chicago will subsidize anybody that has a Kia and a Hyundai to get an aftermarket security package that will prevent whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
You know what I mean? Like
Which will never happen because
will never happen.
they want the government to get involved, but only when it benefits them, not the
exactly.
people.
I think that's actually, now that I stop and think about it, like if I were a Democratic mayor and I had those type of beliefs where I want more government involvement in people's lives, that's the way to do it. The governments would subsidize you. You own a Hyundai, maybe an aftermarket security system is $2,500. Well, the government will, as a city government, will give you $1,000 towards that, or $500 towards that. You know what I mean? And then it's more affordable.
Yeah,
you're
thinking too much in like ideology.
How things should work.
Because like how does that benefit a specific politician?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It would help anyone that owns a Hyundai or a Kia.
Yeah, but it's not about the people.
Vote for that.
It's not about the citizen. Like, dude, the government's not here to help the citizens.
Fair. They're
you and I both
power.
know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Accumulate more power. Keep whatever power they have.
Yeah. Things would be a lot differently if they were if governments, state, local, micro local, like if they all wanted to benefit us, things would be very different.
Right. Yeah, our schools would be a lot better.
Everything would be different. Everything.
Yeah. Which is kind of wild, not to like go down a whole separate rabbit hole, but it's wild to think that Massachusetts as a whole has the best or one of the best education systems in the entire country. And like all of the flaws that are in Massachusetts education system. These kids are idiots. Right. And it's like, what is it like in public school in Nebraska?
Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Or Arkansas, or like South Dakota, or like all of these places like Alabama, Mississippi, right?
Actually, like, so that's actually a little bit of a short-sighted Northeastern type of thought. Now, urban places in these areas that you're speaking of, fine. But like the more rural areas, they go to Aggies and whatnot. So they learn how to.
Right. So they learn actual skills.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like actual women know way more than actual men from up this way.
Right. Right. Yeah. But it's just kind of like interesting to think about the public school system, how kind of fucked it is in Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is basically the best in the country. And it's like, wow, that's kind of terrifying. And you don't even have to do the whole like holier than thou Northeastern thing, right? Look at like New York, right? If Massachusetts is better than New York, what happens in New York, right? If Massachusetts is better than the state of Washington or Oregon, right? Like what the fuck is the public education like in Washington or Oregon, right? Like we don't have to do the whole like, oh, imagine those poor peons in Mississippi and Alabama. Like we don't have to do that. We can go look at Michigan, right? Michigan's a pretty legit fucking state. Like how shitty is it in Michigan? How shitty is it in Pennsylvania, right? Like we don't need to go into the deep South to be like, if Massachusetts is the best and Massachusetts fucking sucks, what is it like in Pennsylvania? Right? What is it like in Delaware? Right? Like what like what are we doing?
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. We're breeding a nation of dum-dums.
I was going through our Twitter chat because I don't have notifications on, so I don't even check that thing anymore. So I was going through like deleting old messages, which is a very daunting task. And I did see like one of the posts. This was probably sent like a fucking month ago. It was like year whatever of not using y equals mx plus b.
Yeah.
So I think for me that's going on year 15 to 17.
Yeah. I mean, we did use trig though. When
we did use trig one day.
The woodshed. The
triangles.
Sine, cosine, tangent, whatever the fuck.
But again, we figured it out by Googling it.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It was funny because when Derek was here earlier, shout out to Derek. I think he listens sometimes. I don't think he catches every episode, but we were talking about like just that. He was like, do you ever sometimes feel that like you have no fucking idea like what's going on. Like you don't feel like a man, right? Like an actual man. Because you talk about like our generation, our generation versus our parents' generation. And now this is someone in Derek who is like way fucking more handy than either you or I, right? Like he actually has experience in construction and building things and masonry because his dad is a GC carpenter, like he built their house in the Berkshires basically by himself, right? Like Derek and his brother helped, and that's where Derek got his experience. But like this isn't someone like me and you where it's like, oh shit, how do I change a toilet seat? I don't know. I'm gonna have to YouTube it, right? Like something that's a menial task. Like I can do it, but I have to watch a YouTube video on how to do it first. Versus like again, our parents' generation, right? Between Derek's dad and my dad and your dad, like it almost seemed inherent to them, right? Like they just kind of like, if they didn't know what they were doing, they knew enough to figure out what they were doing, and they didn't need to watch YouTube videos, right? Like it just kind of made sense to them. And he was like, yeah, I sometimes I feel like I'm just fucking useless. Like I'm not like I'm a man. And I told him, I was like, yeah, me and Dads joke about that all the time. Where like there's actual men and we're not them. Right? Like we know how to do things and like we have enough common sense to figure it out and get it done. But like if I didn't have YouTube to watch how to do it, like I couldn't inherently like get under the sink and fix the fucking drain. Right. Like, but I can copy someone else on a video that I watched like 3 times and do it. It was just kind of like weird that it's like there was an entire generation of people that like didn't learn skills, right? Like we never learned real skills.
You know what the sickening thing is too? Like I don't know shit, yet people ask me for help all the time. Like, oh, have you ever done this? Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just an idiot.
I'm just a common idiot. And like I said, it comes from someone like Derek, who is, I would say he's more of an actual man than both of us, right? Like he's handy, but even in his eyes, he's like, yeah, I can't fucking hold a candle to actual men. And it's like, yeah, I mean, we spent what, 12 and 4, 16 and 2, 18 years learning how to fucking write papers and follow equations and answer standardized test questions, right? Like no one ever taught
we
us.
used to know how to do MLA format before EasyBib.
Yeah. Yeah. MLA versus APA. And yeah, we used to have to do the citing, the citations
and then EasyBib
ourselves.
came out and you just punch it all in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just spits it out for you. But yeah, it's like where you put the period, where do you put the publication year, like all
italics.
that. Yeah. Where do you indent? And it's like
never mind. When was the last time you fucking ML like you only MLA format shit for school?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a purely
and then the other thing too now
purposes. There's no real life
in 2023 because I mean things obviously change over time. If you need to attribute credit to someone or something, you just link it.
Yeah.
Like click here to see the article.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy
skills.
That we didn't learn skills. And like at least where we grew up in Medford, right? It was kind of looked down upon if you went to the Voc instead of the high school.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird it's funny because it was a weird dynamic because you weren't like I don't know. I don't want to say shamed. Shamed is not the right word. You weren't looked down upon if you learned a trade and went into the trades. But while you were at the Voc, you were looked down upon.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, oh, you're a Vokie?
Yeah, Vokies. Like, and it's like the Vokies were the kids who couldn't cut it in the regular high school. And it's like, yeah, that's because like a lot, like I would love to know the percentage, like of the kids that actually went to the Voc, how many of them picked a trade, went to that trade, and stayed in that trade.
Right.
And I think it's a very small number.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets that reputation. because back in the day, like the Voc was a very legitimate like plan of action.
Right.
But that's because if you went and learned metal fab or HVAC, you would go into HVAC.
Right.
You know, people go to the Voc, they go to HVAC, and then they just start working like odds and ends, random ass jobs, like wherever, and they just
they
see
work
where
at
the
like
fuck it
Home
takes them.
Depot.
Yeah, and then it's like some of those guys, like, you know, they start their own landscaping company or they start their own
Right.
you know, whatever, but like they never become like a master plumber.
Right. I don't
Some of
even
them
think we
do.
had plumbing in the Voc.
I don't know which ones the Voc had. I know I
We had
dude, they
like wood
had to have
shop.
had it.
Dude, wood shop was one. Like it was fucking like, I don't know.
Yeah, but
like,
that's because it wasn't a true carpentry program. Like that's what like that's it,
Yeah.
so we're splitting hairs on that one.
Right.
But like there
right.
was HVAC, there was
Yeah, there was
automotive,
HVAC, there was automotive. Yeah. Yeah.
and
yeah.
auto body. I think they were separate.
Yes, they were.
And like obviously cosmetology was one.
Right.
No, actually, to be fair, I think a lot of the girls that did cosmetology eventually like went on down that route, and
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunity there. Whether you work for yourself or you go independent, whatever, like they're the ones who actually probably got the most out of that.
Right.
But yeah, it was weird because it's like, yeah, it had such a bad reputation. But if you went to Minuteman, like, so say you went to Medford Voc and went into HVAC, but you went to Minuteman and went into HVAC, like,
Yeah.
Minuteman HVAC was like far superior. It's like it was almost like college in a way.
Right. Right. They were like, oh wow, that's you know, you're smart. You went to Minuteman.
Yeah, but never mind. Like, so the 3 kids who entered like HVAC and actually worked in HVAC and actually got their apprenticeship. I mean, those guys are 15 years out now.
Right.
Like they're
Right.
all master HVAC people, and
Right.
yes, they do like you do in fact need to work, like
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
because like, you know, obviously it's not, finance or consulting or something, but like
Right.
those guys actually work, and it's like they're not making no money.
Right.
HVAC makes a lot of money.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think we're starting to see it now, right? Because our parents' generation's finally getting to retirement age. And, you know, we had our entire generation was pushed into college. And now there's like basically no one left to do the trades, or like within the next 10 years, there's going to be like no one left to do these trades. And it's going to be like,
Well, the smart ones will get into the trades, and the
Right.
dumb ones will get into fucking
right. But
gender
like how many
studies.
kids, yeah, exactly. But like how many kids, right? Because especially now being a little bit older and realizing that like the way school is structured, like that doesn't fit everybody, right? But like how many kids went through school, like traditional high school? This doesn't have to be Medford High, but how many kids went through traditional high school getting C's and D's and F's and maybe occasionally a B here and there, but mostly C's and D's, and they fucking hated it and they skipped class and they never went to school and all this stuff. If like they were presented with a different opportunity of like doing something that they were actually interested in, right? Like we did have the opportunity where there was a Voc attached to our high school, but say someone somewhere doesn't have that opportunity. Like how many people would have benefited from like, hey, you know, there's this thing called well, I guess now you could say like coding, right? Which I think is taught a little bit more mainstream, even in the academic side of schools. But like, there's this thing called fucking robotics, or there's this thing called auto body that like maybe you can try that out, right? And like, you're not sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day and you're moving around and you're doing stuff with your hands. Like, how many of those people out there that were told that like you're fucking dumb, you'll never amount to anything, like could have been better doing something else, but because there was this like 2 decades from, call it 95 to 2015, where it was like, if you don't go to college, you're worthless, right? Like that, there's that 20-year span. It was like, well, you have to go to college. There's no other option. You have to go to college. And it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Shit now.
Yeah. Well, now it's swinging hard the other way because college is so expensive. So it's almost like,
yeah, there's
it's
a
priced,
million other ways to work.
right? And it's priced itself out. Because it's like, do you want to go spend
a lot of
40?
majors have, yeah.
Yeah, if you do, you want to go spend $40,000 a year to learn about something?
40. Where's that deal?
Yeah, yeah. No, 40,000 a year. Like,
Yeah.
do you?
Where's that deal? Bro, these schools are $80,000 now.
Well, no, I'm saying like I'm saying average. I think the average
Oh.
college is probably like 40,000 a year, I would say. Because there ain't no Bridgewater. Like back in when we went to Bridgewater, it was $13,000 a year, right?
That was my freshman year, all in to live
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah, 13 grand.
That wasn't that
a
long
year.
ago either. That was 15 years ago.
$7,500 per semester, right? Like some of these schools now are 15,000 per semester, right? 30 grand a year is more than what we were paying. They pay more in a semester than we paid for a full year, right?
There's definitely freshmen that will be paying more than I paid for 4 years in one.
Oh yeah.
Because my most expensive year was like 21.
Yeah, like someone that goes to like a Harvard or an MIT right now, if it's like 80 grand a year.
Yeah, some of these
I
like
didn't spend 80 grand to go to 6 years. If you include my undergrad and grad, I didn't spend 80 grand.
If you didn't pay for grad school, I didn't either.
Well, I did, but
no.
I didn't pay for grad school.
You took out a fucking frivolous loan.
No, it was provided to me. And I didn't say no because I was 22 years old and thought it was free money.
This is part of the education problem.
Right. And it's the problem. And Derek and I talked about this earlier too. This would have been a great episode to have him jump on. But like, we were talking about that, how like fucking stupid it was when and it's like, what do you expect? If you take a 22-year-old, right? Because all three of us were graduate assistants. We are in the same department, oddly enough.
That's because I didn't get you to the job.
Yeah. Well, you got me the job. And
no,
then
I had to I forget when he called me, he goes, I got two people I'm looking at. He's like, it's Derek and Jared. I'm like, oh boy. And I think I asked him, I go, do I have to vouch for them? He goes, no, you don't have to vouch for them. I go, good, because I'm not. And I go, only because they're college kids, and if they suck, I don't want that on me. And he goes, what's the deal with them? And I basically just gave him a breakdown of your personalities.
Yeah.
That's more so like what I had to do. But yeah, you two took over for me and the other kid who left.
Right.
Which that kid only did like a semester and a half or something. I don't know. It was something weird.
Yeah. But so we were talking about it, right? Like you're 22 years old, you get a graduate assistantship, you get to go to grad school for free, but the state still processes the loan for your yearly cost to go to grad school. It's up to you as a 22-year-old to go through and deny that loan.
So it must have been because I never got financial aid at all.
Oh.
Because I never had to deal with that.
Yeah, so we both did. So because we had financial aid. So, because my second year of grad school, I thought I would be smarter and only take half of the money. So they offered, it was like $16,000 per year for grad school, right? Because I have a loan right now for 16 grand for 1 year, and then eight grand for the second year. So my second year of grad school, I was like, I don't need the full 16 grand, whatever. So the way it worked out was I'm 22 years old. I have a graduate assistantship. I go to school for free. Financial aid offers me $16,000. And it's up to me as a 22-year-old dumbass to say, no, I don't want it. But I was like, well, fuck that. You're just going to give me 16 grand? I'm going to ball out. I got fucking money. I got money for days. 16 grand. Let's go. And that's exactly what I did. So now I have to pay that back. But my second year of grad school, I was like, I'm only going to take half. So I went through and I declined half. So I have a 16 and 8. So what is that? I had $24,000 in loans for grad school alone. But so like I guess you could say I kind of learned the second year. I still didn't because I still took $8,000, but like I didn't deny the loans because no one tells you that you have to fucking pay that shit back hardcore, right? And like the second you get the loan, it starts accruing interest. Like no one explains that shit to you when you're 18 years old. And I'm not even certain
No one explains it to you ever.
if someone did that, me personally, I would have even listened or would have even
The only people who truly because people would just push it off like, oh, well, that's someone else's problem.
Right.
The only people who really understand that shit are like the people like servicing the loans.
Yeah.
They're the ones who know about loans, unless you've been in it long enough. But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's dumb. I think it's a lot. It's just fucking everything is dumb, including myself. So, yeah, you want to wrap this up?
Yes.
All right.
I want to go back to a time where I was right once again. And how I told on the show, I go, stop talking to me about training camp. Stop talking to me about guys that are on the roster, not on the roster, bubble, whatever. Because New England Patriots specifically made some cuts and people were like, how do they cut that guy? What's going on? So specifically, Zappy and Malik Cunningham, 2 quarterbacks, they were cut before the cut deadline when rosters had to be 53.
Right.
So now some facts of the case, because I do know what the fuck is going on. And like, this is why I choose to fucking not pay attention, because I fucking know what the hell is happening. People don't know what the fuck is going on. They're just fucking uninformed idiots. So what happens is you have fucking 80 guys, or I don't know what the fucking cut downs are anymore. They used to be tiers. I don't know what
90.
it is. So yeah, but like, so back in the day when there was 4 preseason games,
you had to
have
get
to go
to a
from
certain
like
number,
90 to 80 to 70 to 53.
But with the new CBA, they got rid of that because, theoretically you want to save guys and prevent injury. Yeah. So you carry the 90 until it needs to be 53.
Yes. So you have to cut guys down to 53. Other facts of the case: injured reserve. If you put someone on IR before they make the 53-man roster, they are done for the year, period. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Correct.
If you wait, you put them on the 53 and then you put them on IR, there's a chance that they come back.
Right. After 4 game minimum.
So you have to cut people in order to put people on IR to potentially get them back later. So if Tyquan Thornton is in fact hurt, but he can come back, like say it's just a hamstring,
right?
And you want to save a roster spot, you have to put him on the 53. You have to wait for the 53 to clear, and then you put him on IR. Then he can come back later in the year.
Right.
So when you're doing the roster things, now the unwritten rules too that you've heard throughout the years, there's certain times and certain players and unwritten rules and like when a team cuts certain guys, other teams around the league know, hey, don't go after that guy.
Right.
Because if you do, then Bill's gonna fuck you on somebody else later. Like it's an unwritten thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's a handshake agreement.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
so it's like
when I'm going to cut all my backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm going to cut all the quarterbacks. I'm trying to
make some space.
Or I'm going to cut my kicker so I have 0 kickers on the roster. It's like, don't fucking scoop them up. Like,
right.
Or else that when you try to do something like that, I'm going
to scoop them. Yeah, exactly.
And I'll put him on my practice squad and he can fucking rot. Like,
yeah.
It's not fair to the player. It's not fair to the teams. But like, or I guess it's fairness is irrelevant, but it's not fair to the player. Because if some guy's just getting toyed around for fucking spite, it's fucking bullshit, which is why I'm like, okay with that being like an unwritten thing.
Right.
So you cut so the Patriots make their cuts. And before the 53-man is set and before waivers clear, there's only 1 quarterback, there's 2 running backs, there's 2 tight ends, and everyone's fucking freaking out. Who's going to play backup? Who's going to be the backup quarterback? Who's going to be the backup? What? We only have 1 quarterback. What if Matt gets hurt? You fucking people. All it takes is from 4 o'clock one day to noon the next day. How many hours is that? 16?
Yeah.
18? I don't even know how many hours that is.
16. 20.
20. It's 20
hours. The other multiple of 4.
So for 20 hours, all we have to do is argue semantics and play roster games.
Yep.
The Patriots are not going to go without a backup quarterback.
Right.
So all these people from 4 o'clock to 11:45 the next morning. We're freaking out. Zappy's gone. They got rid of Zappy. They're giving up on Zappy already. Mac might not be that good. Who's going to be backup? What if Mac gets hurt?
Malik Cunningham looked great in the preseason, but they cut him anyway.
I could have sworn Malik Cunningham was going to make the roster. And what happens at noon the next day? Both guys are back.
Yep.
You fucking people need to fucking get a grip.
Not only that, but then they went out and signed Matt Corral.
Yeah, which
so now they have
cut
four,
him.
They have 4 quarterbacks on the roster.
Yeah, so I can't believe we're gonna have 4 quarterbacks going into the season. No.
Yeah.
One of them's getting cut.
Right.
And guess what? Malik Cunningham is not gonna play wide receiver. They kept 6. They don't do that.
Right.
I assure you.
Yeah, it's like people
that will not be happening.
It is. It's the injury game, right? Because there's
the everything game. It's the injuries. It's the roster.
Also,
it's the 6th-round pick.
Oh,
this guy looks good. This guy doesn't.
The deadline on cut down day is 4:00 on August 28th. It was August 28th.
When's the first game? The 11th?
The first game is September 9th. People
There's
are
a lot of
flipping
shit
out.
to happen.
People are flipping out that at 4:00 on August 28th. And oh my God, what are we going to do? I don't know. There's 13 more days until they play a game.
Never mind.
Who gives a shit?
So that's roster stuff. Never mind. Who gives a flying fuck about backup and 3rd-string quarterbacks, 3rd-string running backs, 3rd-string tight ends? Who fucking cares?
Right.
If you're relying on those guys, you are fucked.
Yes.
And that's for a team that already isn't very good.
Right.
11th in the AFC, maybe.
Yeah.
What are they with backups?
Yeah.
Probably not last because there's some the Colts suck, but
yeah.
With all their starters and everybody, they are
they have to get lucky to make the playoffs.
They need some luck and some really good. They need really good play and luck to get in the playoffs.
Right.
I still think that they can maybe steal a win in the playoffs, like last year's Jaguars, and that's it. That's if everything goes right. Already, all the linemen are hurt. They're already fucked.
Right.
So this team already is not. It's not at its expectations.
Right.
If they're fucking 11th or 10th best in the AFC, which I don't even know, that might be just the quarterback, but they might be a little bit better of a team than that. 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, I think they're right on the playoff
or
bubble.
7, 8.
7 through 10, right? Like they're somewhere in that
10.
realm where they're on the playoff bubble.
And
right?
if the ball bounces,
and
if the ball bounces a certain way, they're not going to be 5.
Right?
They're not going to be
8
5
or 7.
It's 7.
7.
So it's okay. So they're probably 6 through 10 right now. And if the ball bounces a certain way, they probably don't get to 5. But if it bounces the wrong way, they probably could be 12. Anyway, if the backups are playing, you are not that team. So who fucking cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter. The backup is not going to come in and save the day. It's not going to happen.
But you can't say that in New England because everyone's like, well, it did for Tom Brady. And it's like, oh, is that going to happen again?
You mean
that's going to happen
once
again?
in a lifetime guy?
Yeah, no, exactly.
How many Super Bowls have there been?
What'd you say?
What are we on? How many Super Bowls have there been? We haven't got to 60 yet, right?
No, this will be 58 this year.
Okay, so we're on 58 plus championships go back probably 30 years before that. We're almost 90 years where one Tom Brady has walked through that door.
Right.
One.
Right.
He ain't coming back.
Yeah.
There ain't another one.
Right. But that's what I mean, though. You can't say that to people in New England because they're like, oh, Malik Cunningham could be the next Tom Brady.
That's the guy. It was.
You guys need to give this shit up. Like
him and Pop Douglas were my 2 guys.
Let it go.
Like Pop Douglas might be a good returner. He might be a good Marcus Jones role from last year. Put the 2 of them out there. Could be fun. Could be.
Yeah.
Neither of them are Jerry Rice.
No.
You're not getting a
Pop Douglas is not
all-time one.
He's not even Tyreek Hill. No. Right? Because people are like, oh, it could be like Tyreek Hill. He's short, he's fast. No, he's not. He's nothing like Tyreek Hill. He's not Tyreek Hill light.
If he ends up being John Brown, I think that would be a massive success.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think. Or like Deshaun Jackson. right? Like if he was Deshaun Jackson,
Oh my God, that would be a massive win.
that would be huge.
I was thinking like Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Or like, some of the guys like the
Because I'm trying to
Cardinals
think
used-
of like a small, fast receiver.
Yeah, John Brown.
Like,
John Brown's the best example.
yeah.
It's like all the guys that used to play for the Cardinals and shit. Why is
Yeah.
he barking? All right. So I was right. I don't know why he's barking.
Leo.
I don't know. Door's locked. He must hear someone outside.
Yeah. All right. So my final thought, I'm gonna stick with the school theme here. And I don't know if you heard about this recently, but again, it's close to home literally for us, right? Because we're from Medford and Tufts University is in Medford or Somerville, depending on who you ask. But it's that time of year where colleges are back in session, kids are moving in. And typically, when you go to college on the first day, the freshmen walk in, who's there to greet you, right? The RAs in the building, right? So wherever you are, if you live in a college campus, whatever building, they're residential assistants, right? The RAs, if you didn't know that. They're also students, right? They're typically juniors and seniors. I guess very rarely they could be potentially sophomores, but they're not freshmen, right? So it's not a freshman. It's someone that's older than you, that lives in a special dorm room in the building. Typically, I mean, at Bridgewater, we did one per floor, I think. I don't know what other schools did.
Usually it was like,
Yeah, like there was a
like
guy
Shea
in
Durgan had two. Yeah, maybe it was one male, one female.
one
on
male,
each
one
floor.
female on each floor.
I think that's
I don't
what it was.
necessarily remember. I mean, truthfully, I only lived in one other building, and then
And
I
I
moved on
think
campus.
because Crimson was one male, one female, and I think Shea Durgan, because even though it was it's one building, one structure. Technically,
Yeah.
it was two sides, so I think each floor technically had four.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because
Shea
like
and
the
Durgan.
Shea Dirt, once you cross the elevators, they considered it a new building, even though there's no
Right.
fucking. That's fucking.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So the RAs are there. They help you. They help you find your room. They help you find like those fucking the bellhop carts, right? To load in all your shit that your freshman year you're bringing in that you don't need, but you don't know you don't need it. You get all that shit. They're just there to help support. They're also going to narc on you throughout the year. But like on the move-in day, like they're actually pretty helpful. They're supportive, they'll introduce you to people, whatever. They're friendly. Well, Tufts University last week, the RAs decided that they weren't going to do any of that. They decided that they were going to strike and they were going to protest. They're protesting the freshman move-in and they were not helping anybody. They were not doing their job. So that's the other thing too. If you don't know how this works, so the RAs, right? They're again typically they're junior seniors, right? But they're at least upperclassmen. You could be in whatever building, right? Like you could be a senior assigned to be an RA in the freshman dorm. That's just the luck of the draw. That's where you go. So your job is to kind of like monitor everything. Like I said, they're going to narc on you and like fucking call security or call the cops if you're like partying or drinking, whatever. They're more of a pain in the ass than they help, but that's their job, right? So whatever. I'm not going to fault them for doing their job. So part of that is they get to live for free, right? So part of college cost, right, is room and board. So whatever that is, like it might be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grand a year, depending on what school, where you are, all that shit, right? You don't have to pay that. If you're an RA, you don't pay room and board. So you live for free, but you have a job to do, right? To like police essentially the dorm.
And you get like it's posted how many hours you do a week and
right. Yeah. You might have,
it's structured. It's not like, ooh, this week someone's on vacation. No.
Right.
You do like 8 hours a week of on duty.
Right.
Which means like once an hour you do a lap around the building.
Right. Or you're sitting at a fucking folding table, and if someone has an issue, like they go to the on-duty desk or something.
No, that was somebody else. That was a different job.
Oh, really?
No, the RA is literally just.
Oh, shit.
Now, an RA from a different building could be quote unquote security at a different dorm. That was a thing. But those people, that was like a work study job.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So no, so the
So
RAs,
even less.
I mean, maybe in the freshman dorm there was something like an info, whatever. But they hung around.
Right.
You
Right.
just sat there.
Yeah. So again, it's a trade, right? Like you get to live for free on campus, but you have a job to do, right? You have a job function to do within the dorm. Well, the RAs at Tufts University decided to go on strike and refused to do their job when the freshmen moved in last week because they're demanding they get paid.
I would have
So,
fired every single one of them.
yes. Yep. They believe here, it says the RAs who live with underclassmen in dorms and assist them with everything from maintenance problems to health emergencies say that that doesn't go far enough, talking about like whatever. Oh, so they wanted to get paid. And then Tufts University came back and said that during negotiations, they'll also cover the food plans. So they already get free on-campus housing. And the RAs were like, we want to get paid. And the Tufts powers that be were like, well, we're not going to pay you, but we'll also give you free food. So we'll give you free housing and free food. Because that's another thing. If you're
Which
going to
at
college and
Tufts,
you live on campus, you
that's
have to
probably
pay for
worth-
a meal plan.
What do you think that's probably worth? Almost 20K a year?
It's got to be.
Nah, maybe a
well,
little
no, that's a
less.
little much.
Maybe like 15.
Because at Bridgewater, it was $3,000. Was it $3,500 a semester for platinum?
Yeah, and then housing was like
So that's $7
for a
grand.
year.
So
10 a year
if you get
was
the platinum
Bridgewater.
meal plan, both semesters, that's $7 grand. So like Tufts might, and this was also
housing,
15 years ago.
But housing was also like 7 a year. So it
Yeah.
was like 14 a year. Yeah, so it could be close to 20 at Tufts.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. It could be 20 for room and board and
That's
meal,
almost too much
plans.
to collect Social Security.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? So the college came back and was like, oh, we'll include free meal plans as well. So you get free housing, free room and board, free meal plans. The RAs came back and said, no, we deserve a stipend in the range of a few $1,000s.
Doesn't that sound like the fucking meal plan?
Yeah, it does.
We're arguing. This is what happens when you argue with fucking college kids. All they know how to do is fucking protest, bitch, and moan. And the other thing, too, is if I was fucking Tufts administration, it would be so easy just to be like, all right, well, we need RAs, so move your stuff out.
Yep.
If you do not, someone will move it out for you.
Right. You're no longer an RA.
And then there will be people on campus that will take the RA job so that they don't have to pay housing.
Right.
I mean, I know Tufts, you have to have a certain sum of money to go there, but someone will take that deal.
Right.
And they'll look at that deal like, yep, that's fair. I'm in. And what are you going to do? Retaliate or create violence on a college campus?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Well, they're trying to unionize.
Yeah, this isn't like.
Or they did unionize, actually.
The RA's unionized?
Oh my God. This is fucking ridiculous. The more I read in this article, the more ridiculous it gets. So they actually unionized. They filed under OPEIU Local 153.
Everyone makes a fucking union now. That's another thing.
Wow, this is insane. This is insane.
I'm done. I'm good with this because I just don't care about college kids and their fucking problems.
No,
you're going to Tufts. Like your life is not difficult. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
Your life would be difficult if you were a single parent going to fucking Massasoit. Like
yes, yeah.
You're going to Tufts. I don't feel bad for you.
Right. Yeah. So, wow.
And college, like this is the thing. Oh, got to go to college. Nope. College is voluntary. You're choosing to do this. Fuck off.
Yeah. You know what I would do if
Don't
I was
go.
if I were the school, right? I would be like, okay, so we already give you free room and board. We offered you free meals, which might be, let's call it $10,000 a year, right? So let's say, let's keep numbers even, right? Let's say room and board is 10 grand and meal plans are 10 grand a year. We offered you both for free, which is a total of $20,000 a year. You said, no, you want to get paid. Okay, well, we've always been offering free room and board, so we'll keep that. But free meals are now off the table. So we'll give you $3 grand a year in cash and a stipend, but you're required to have a meal plan. How's that sound? Now you're like,
have to have it.
yeah. Now you're required to have a meal plan that costs $10,000 a year, but we'll give you $3,000.
Oh, and yeah, so we'll give you the $3,000, but office hours just expanded too.
Yeah. I guarantee you they'd be like, yeah, sure, we'll take that. We'll take that deal.
Yeah, because they're stupid.
Because they're fucking stupid.
College kids.
Like, how do you not do that math and be like, that's $20,000? You're getting
stupid.
Yeah, again, like we talked about earlier in the episode, right? There was a 22-year-old kid that was offered $16,000, and I said, sure, why not? And now I have to pay for it.
Yep.
15 years later. Or 10 years later, I'm paying for it. But yeah. So I don't know. Kids are fucking dumb. But that's going to do it for us. Everyone is stupid. Everyone is dumb. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Click the subscribe button up top, like button down below. Tell everybody you know about the show. If you're an audio only guy, you can subscribe wherever you're listening. Also on Spotify and iTunes, you can leave us 5 stars and a review. So go do that, please and thank you. It helps new people find the show, as well as you talking about the show, like I said. So tell everybody that you know. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Oh, that reminds me. Also, a quick plug here. I posted it on the Instagram, but we are going to be bringing back the weekly Sarcasm Speaks NFL Pick'em. So reach out to us if you want in. It's $6 a week or $108 for the season. There is a weekly payout as well as a season-long payout. So let us know, reach out to us, like if you want on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod, or Twitter, Sarcasm_speaks, or Facebook, which is Sarcasm Speaks. Get us on any one of those social medias. Text us if you have our number, and we will get you the information to get through everything, get signed up, and get ready to go. In the past few years, I think we've had upwards of like 25 people.
I think 25 was the most. But yeah, I mean, it's been, I think all of last season, you at least got, like, if you won 1 week, you got your money back for the year.
Correct. Yeah.
So then if you won multiple weeks, you win, and then the season long paid out, 4 times your money or so.
Yeah. Yeah. I won the season long. Let's go.
Which also means you probably won 2 or 3 weeks.
I won a couple weeks too. Yeah. I made out pretty well last year. So, hopefully I'll try and keep it rolling this year, but we'll see. So yeah, we are bringing the pick and pool back. So again, let us know, get in touch with us. We'll get you hooked up, get you signed up. You can go to the icepod.com, use the promo code below in the show notes to get $10 off your purchase over there if you want an ice plunge. Additionally, you can go to noonbrew.com. I'm not drinking it during this show because it's the middle of the day. But noonbrew.com is a great magnesium sleep tea, helps you sleep great. I love it. I drink it every night. Promo code in the show notes will get you 10% off every single time you buy something over there. And then last but not least, we have mybookie.com. Use the promo code sarcasmpod, and they will double your first deposit when you sign up over there. So that is going to do it for us. Until next time, good night, everybody.